Hola, buenas noches, buenos dias, buenas tardes, wherever you are in the world. Hello, everybody. So glad you could join me tonight live, Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. We are halfway. Today is officially the halfway mark in 2025. How are y'all feeling? I don't know about you, but I mean, I didn't know what to expect from this year, but I didn't expect all of this. So, yeah. We will get started very shortly. If you are here live, let me know in the chat. Good evening. Glad you could join me. If you are watching on the replay, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. We are like today, July 1st, we've officially made it to the midpoint of the year. And I would bet that probably back in January, you probably made some big plans for how you were going to switch things up, how you were going to do things better, how you were going to change your life. How is that going? I don't, some people make New Year's goals, some people make resolutions, some people don't do any of that, some people do vision boards. But I thought today was a good opportunity, sort of for us to reflect back on what we said we wanted from this year, particularly when it comes to our finances, and sort of like check in, see, are we on track for where we want to be? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I can't even remember what I was doing in January. I don't know if I made any resolutions or promises or set any goals. I don't remember. So this is a good point for me to like come up with something, since I have no idea what I said I wanted to do back in January. What about y'all? Um, if you're like me, or maybe you're not like me, maybe you're better than me, but if your focus has been somewhere else other than those things that you said you wanted to do, that's completely understandable with all the wild shit that is going on right now. So please, tonight's conversation is not about beating yourself up or feeling bad or, anything like that. This is not about that. It is about making the most of the 6 months we have left in this year, if there is something that you really want to do. Particularly, I was thinking in terms of finances. If I haven't introduced myself, so if by chance you are new to my channel and are just now finding me, my name is Adelia Aborashade, although most people probably know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I am a financial educator and coach, and really, I make it my business to help Black women get their money together so that they can live the life that they want. So for me, wanting you to have the best 2025 you can, first thing comes to my mind is money, and what are the goals or the things you said you wanted to do. In particular, I'm thinking about my friend Libria Jones. I don't know if she's gonna see this. But I know she had a little bit of a reset she was doing to focus on some financial goals she had set, and I thought, I think all of us could use something like that. Awesome, Ama. I've been working a lot of overtime, so I'm almost finished paying my credit card and intend to pay off a medical bill that I haven't really been able to save for. Okay, all right. So, but yeah, so that's what we're doing tonight, kind of giving an overview of how to like reset and refocus on those financial goals or aspirations or whatever you want to call them, what you want to call them, that makes no difference to me. I think something that I have not been great about doing, and that if I had been, I'd probably remember more specifically whatever the goals were that I had set up for myself at the beginning of the year, if I did, is I don't know. I've talked about this before. Some people call it having a money date. You can call it a money moment. You can call it, a wealth hour. I don't care what you call it, but particularly with finances, I think it is really important that it's not something we only think about in times of emergencies. Like, if something is important to us, we check in on it periodically. We keep ourselves up to date. And I think we could do that with our money. So when I talk about like, let's do a mid-year money refresh, I'm talking about let's check in on our finances and agree to sort of make this a habit going forward, because people who know their numbers are in a much more powerful situation than those that don't. And when I say know your numbers, that's like having an idea of what your net worth is, knowing how much you owe on that student loan. What's the interest rate on those credit cards? I have quite a few clients that when I talk to them, it's like, well, I have some debt, but they don't know really how much debt they have, what it's costing them, any of that. And so because it's important to know your numbers, you won't know your numbers if you don't check in on your finances periodically. So we are doing this tonight because I think mid-year is a good time to do it. But what I'm hoping is that this is something you continue and you make it a habit. That way you are in kind of the driver's seat with your money. What is it they say? If you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to tell you where it's been. I think this is a way to avoid that. So we will go ahead and get started. Okay. There might be somebody here who's thinking like the idea of having a money date, like this, what I mean by that is this is a time where you can focus solely on your finances. If you are a single woman, you absolutely should be doing this because you all you got. You need to understand what your situation is. If you happen to be partnered, you should be doing this too. Something to keep very clear for those of you that happen to be partnered with whomever you happen to be partnered, and whatever y'all's agreement is on how to handle finances, whether you're commingling money or not. If you're, of course, set up your money date, your financial check-in, invite your partner so that y'all can have a conversation about your shared funds. But if every woman should have her own money. So whether your partner, because I used to be married to somebody who had no interest in doing financial check-ins. He was one of those people that just ascribed to the idea that the money was going to do what it was going to do, and somehow it was just magically all going to work. And with my own money, I made sure that I checked in and I understood what my financial situation is. So every woman should be doing this, whether you are partnered or not, because you always should have your own money, no matter if there are things that you and your partner put together. doesn't matter. And like I said before, it works best if this is not something you do one off. This needs to be something that happens periodically. And so you want, number one, you want to choose a day of a specific day, a time, a frequency that makes sense for your life. And when you're trying to figure out, well, what makes sense for me? When do you get paid? Living abroad, working abroad, every company I worked for paid me once a month. And so it was very easy to have my little money check in, my money sit down once a month. If you get paid twice a month, if you get paid 4 times a month, it might work better for you to do it when you get paid. It might also, when you're choosing a time of day, don't choose a time of day when you know you're going to be tired and you don't want to deal with this. So for me, like a Saturday morning, because I'm not really doing anything, that's a good time for me to sit and do this. A Wednesday night would be bad for me because I would be sleepy. For some folks, maybe quarterly, particularly, I don't know, if you're an independent contractor or something like that, working with quarters might be a better option for you. Don't know, but it should be something that happens with frequency and a frequency that makes sense for your life. So if the idea of doing it every week gives you the ick, makes you like, not interested, then don't do that. Set up something that works for you. So that's number one, to choose when you're going to do this. If you have a partner, invite them to sit in and have this conversation so y'all can discuss y'all's financial situation. But again, you should be having a financial check-in with yourself about your money, regardless of what your partner is doing. And so that's, is that 1A, 1B? And so number 2, once you've decided when you're going to do this, gather all of the stuff you need, like where's your credit card statements? Where are your bank statements? Do you have account balances for your 401k, your Roth IRA, the personal loan that you have, your car loan, whatever? If you have a big purchase coming up, do you have price estimates for that? Because that may figure into like what you're going to need to spend and figuring out where that money's going to come from. I think the first time this can be a little, I don't want to say difficult, but it can take a little bit more work the first time you do it. The subsequent times, it'll be much easier because you'll hopefully be keeping track of that information much more regularly. But particularly if you've never ever looked at that stuff, and I know there are some folks that don't, that when those things, whether it's a bank statement that comes via email or comes via snail mail, you don't open it, you just set it to the side. It's a lot of folks that do that. Okay. Receipts, what have you spent in the last week, the last month, what have you, where are those receipts? Gather all that stuff up. Okay. And so when you sit down to do this, the first thing you're going to want to do is ask yourself, where does my money go? Now, notice I am not telling you that you need to build a budget, because actually, I'm not a fan of budgeting. I don't budget. Is it because I might be neurodiverse? Is it because I'm just tired and that seems like work? Is it because I've never been good at following a budget? Possibly. Maybe it's all of the above. But notice, I'm not telling you that you need to create a budget. Because first of all, a budget is about A budget really is a spending plan. That's looking forward. And I think before you can make plans for the future, before you can move forward, you need to see what you're already doing. What obligations have you already made for your money? How have you been spending your money? What patterns exist? That sort of thing. So you need to be clear on your spending. So let's say you're going to do this once a month. Look back for the month of June. And between your credit cards, your bank account, where have you spent money? If that means you need to pull up your PayPal account as well to see, where have you been spending money? I use an app called Toshal Finance. I've mentioned that to y'all before. I like this app because I can track my spending. This hair is going to drive me nuts. I can track my spending in multiple currencies. And for some of y'all, that may not be important. For me, often it is. Because either I am in multiple places or I am buying things online from different countries in different currencies. And I always try to pay in the currency of the thing that I'm buying or the place that I'm buying it. But there are others. Good Budget is one, and oh gosh, the name just left my brain. It has Pocket Guard. That is the other one. Pocket Guard is easy. If you want to do this on pen and paper, that's fine. You want to do it on a spreadsheet, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But what is important is you need to see where your money went. I liken it to, if you have decided that you want to lose weight. Often the first thing that a trainer is going to tell you is that you need to keep a food diary, because often we are eating things and not keeping in mind, what are the metrics, what do you call that stuff? Macros of the stuff that we're eating, and we can't see. We're like, I eat fine, but not really seeing that, the macros on the stuff that I'm eating doesn't align with my physical fitness goals. So and so the first thing they tell you is go ahead, track what you eat. That's how you identify patterns. That's how you get down to the truth of what has been going on. And I believe that the same is true when it comes to your money. Okay, Tay, I agree. Got to see where you're spending in the present before you can budget appropriately. Yes, absolutely. Because first question you are asking yourself is, where does my money go? Where have I spent it? And as you are looking at the month of June, because today is July 1st, so we'll look back at June, there may be one-off situations, like, what was it, a couple of weeks ago that I shared my cost of living here in Mexico City, and I had some one-off costs like tuition for my Spanish class, get my hair braided, stuff like that, stuff that doesn't happen every month. So, we'll take those things into account. But as you're looking back on June, look at patterns. Do you notice that you are spending more at certain retailers, or that the biggest chunk of money you spend is when you go out after work for happy hour? Are there specific days of the week that you spend more, just to see if there are any patterns? Often if you eat out for lunch at work, maybe you don't get an idea of, because you're thinking this is costing me $15, $20, but maybe you really have no concept of what that is costing you for the entire month. So this is a good chance to look at that. Are there things that you spent money on that you forgot? I've done this. And it's not until I go back and I look at my spending for the month that I'm like, oh yeah, I ordered that fabric. That's what it is for me. Maybe for you, you bought a new pair of shoes that you forgot that you had spent the money on, or, I don't know, a dress you forgot about, something like that. So that's what else you're going to be looking at as you're looking at your spending. Are there any reoccurring expenses? Like, is there a free trial you signed up for and forgot, and they have been debiting your account? Are there charges either on your cards or in your bank account that you can't readily identify what that money went to? Okay. Um, did you sign up for, what is it where they like the auto renew? Like, you bought, I used to do this when I shopped at Amazon, where they would give me a lower price if I would do the auto ship, the auto renew thing. And then I forgot about it because maybe I only wanted it for that 1 month and I had every good intention to cancel it, but then I forgot. And then they got the last laugh because they kept charging me. So, I forget the number, but the amount of money folks are spending on subscriptions they've forgotten about or things like that, it is staggering. So much so that there are companies that will go through your statements and find things that you're paying for that maybe you don't realize to help you cancel that. And then lastly, you're going to be looking at for anything that doesn't add up. Fraud, inaccuracies. Did you get double charged for something? Should you have gotten a refund that you didn't get credited yet? Again, life can be very busy. Often we tell ourselves like, oh, I'll double check to make sure that they didn't double charge me. And then you never go back to do it. So for that alone, I think scheduling, like a financial check-in is a good practice to have. So first thing you're going to do is figure out, where is your money going? Where did your money go last month? Okay. Next, you're going to ask yourself, where do I need my money to go? Where do I want my money to go? And, are there goals that you have? Like, you wanted to pay down your credit card debt. Looking back at your spending for June, does that match up with this thing that you said you wanted? Okay. Is there something back in January, at the start of the new year, you said, I'm going to build up my emergency fund. I'm going to put more money in my Roth IRA. When you look at where you put your money in June, did you do those things? Okay. Maybe these were just kind of ideas you had, but you did not like really make clear that this is a goal and how you would proceed to achieve it. Okay. And so if you are noticing that where the money went is not really where you say you want it to go, you got to ask yourself, okay, which one of these am I more committed to? Is it really about these things I say I want? Or no, the way I know I said that, but in reality, the way I spent this money is more aligned with how I want to be about things. There is no right or wrong answer here. It's just about making sure that you're using your money to get the things that you want. Now, if you have goals, financial goals, like I want to pay down my credit card, I want to get out of debt, I want to, pay off my student loan, I want to save for a house. If you've got any kind of financial goal like that, have you worded that goal, whether in your head or if you actually wrote it down somewhere? Have you worded it in such a way that it is measurable? Because that's super important, because otherwise, how are you going to know that you've achieved it? So if the goal is to, quote unquote, get out of debt, are you defining that zero balance on all of my credit cards and all of my loans? Or is that too big of a goal? You're like, girl, that's going to take years. So, because like I got all this debt, I don't even know where to start. Okay, so pick one card. I want to have this card paid off by this date. Okay. If you know how much you owe on that card and you know when you want to have it paid off, you can do very simple math to figure out, okay, this is how much I've got to send that card per month in order to pay it off by this date that I set. Being more specific and making it something measurable like that will make it easier for you to be able to check that off the list. Okay. Becoming Nirel said, I met my financial goals for May and June. Interest-bearing cards paid off, possibly in July. Okay. I'm on winging a prayer. My goal last year was to be debt-free by the end of the summer. Okay. It sounds like you've made progress. And so if you're doing your money check-in, one of the things, like maybe you're listening to this and you're like, okay, Adelia, I got my goals spelled out. They are specific. Okay. When you look at your numbers, do you need to make an adjustment to those goals? Do you need to extend the timeline a little bit? Do you maybe need to tweak it a little bit? That's okay. That's okay. That is perfectly all right. Chanel say last month, my money went on vacation. It be like that sometimes. It be like that sometimes. So if you need to tweak a goal, what is the adjustment you need to make? Okay, go ahead, figure that out. I would also say that if you are somebody who for some, you're recalling the goals, you're looking at where the money went, and you're trying to figure out, well, what's the disconnect? Maybe ask yourself, okay, I said I was going to start building up my emergency fund, but the numbers show that you didn't, because the bank balance on that high yield savings account is still the $5 you put in there to open the account. So you said this was a goal of yours. Maybe ask yourself or dig a little deeper to figure out, why is it that, why do you think you didn't start putting money over there? Can you pinpoint a specific point in the month when it was like, that's the money I spent on this thing that should have been going to my high yield savings account? Can you pinpoint it? Was it that you had an unexpected setback and that caused you to come out of more money out of your pocket? Like, did the pipe in the wall bust? Or did you have to replace a roof or something like that? Because again, this is not about you like blaming yourself, punishing yourself. It's more about making sure we stay on top and understand where we are. And if there are patterns of behavior that are keeping us from what we want, we can identify those and kind of make a pivot or an adjustment so that we can get back on the track that we say we want to be on. Okay. So you have asked yourself, where did my money go? You looked at that, you figured that out. You looked to see if there were patterns, were there fees or purchases you forgot about? Were there one-off things, what have you? Then you ask yourself, you reflect, is this where I want my money to go? Is this where I need my money to go? And if it is or isn't, making the adjustments, maybe getting more clear in how we word and talk about a specific goal we want. Making sure that we are speaking about it and wording it in measurable terms so that it is doable and so that we will know when we have reached the finish line, when we can check it off the box. And we are asking ourselves, we're interrogating a little bit our behavior if we know we're not doing the things that we say we want to do. Okay. So what's our plan for next month? That's the next thing you're asking yourself. Okay, I see where my money went. I know where I need it to go. What is my plan to make that happen over the next week before I get paid again? Like, what are the things that need to happen the next month, the next quarter, however whatever your schedule is. Okay, what is your plan? What needs to happen? And how are you going to make this happen? This is my favorite question because this makes you have to think about, okay, what is the action that I am going to take? Because I said I want to have more money I want to build up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Okay. How am I going to make that happen? Oh my gosh, this hair is driving me nuts. How am I going to make that happen? Like the folks who want to eliminate or, pay down some credit card debt. How are you going to make that happen? Are you going to start paying for everything in cash so that you are not adding more interest to your card with new purchases? Are you, for those that are, savings is one of their goals, whether it's for retirement, whether it's for a sabbatical, whether it's an emergency fund, how are you going to do that? Are you going to start paying yourself first? That is probably, and I've said this on this channel before, that is probably the thing that once I've really understood how to pay myself first, and this is why I don't budget, because once I pay myself first, whatever happens to the rest of the money is whatever happens to the rest of the money. I just remembered I did a video on the anti-budget budget. I will add that to the description of this video if what I've said has intrigued you a little bit and you're curious about that. But did I lose my train of thought? Oh yeah, paying myself first. If you have said, I want to build up this emergency fund, I want to be able to max out my Roth IRA this month. Okay. Are you paying yourself first? Is that money coming off the top of when you get paid before you do anything else? For those of you that have 401ks through work or a 403b or a 557, that money goes into that account before you ever get your check. You are paying yourself first. You can do the same thing with your after-tax money. Before you start, and this, I think having your money check-in would be a good place to do that, particularly if you do it on the day that you get paid. As you're sitting there with your money before you pay any of the upcoming bills or you go out to eat or whatever, how much do I need to put in my IRA to max it out before April 15th, 2016? Because you have until the tax deadline to contribute to your retirement account, your IRA. So you do the math, you figure out, okay, if I put in $500 every month, $250 out of each check. Okay, it's the 1st and the 15th. I'm sitting down, I'm doing my money check-in. Before I do anything else, let me put that $250 in my Roth IRA. Pay yourself first before you pay everybody else. So that's what I mean when I say, ask yourself, how are you going to make this thing happen? You have this plan of, this is what I want to happen. What are you going to do to make that happen? I see that there are, you are very right, Nirel. The number of folks who, because I know money is a stressful topic, it makes folks uncomfortable. Even if, there's somebody who's making, a good salary and all that, depending on what your history is, money can be an anxiety inducing topic. And so sitting down and looking at the numbers can seem scary. But I want us to reframe that. If what I described, if that's you, I want us to reframe that. Knowing your numbers is empowering. It's how you can take informed action. It's how you can make good decisions. So I absolutely am acknowledging how difficult it is just to sit down and look at the numbers. It is something I have been struggling with my oldest daughter. I have been trying my hardest to instill this in her, and it's a struggle every time because she's just like, I don't want to look at anything. I don't want to look at the numbers, nothing. Sharon says, that's my struggle, paying myself first. I set reminders on my phone, but struggle to follow. I've talked to y'all now, not so much about money, but I self-sabotage with so many other things. Whatever like structure I put into place, like putting task reminders on Google and that kind of stuff, I then will ignore it. So I can be my own worst enemy sometimes. So absolutely, I get that. I get that. Let's see. I'm marking questions so we can come back to those at the end. Okay, Empress Wonderlust. I have never heard of, I'm not sure I can pronounce this. Kakaibo. But is this a tool, an app? Is there a cost? Because I'm always looking for new things to share with my clients. Because again, there are some people who do need a spending plan for when they're going into that next month. And maybe, we've asked ourselves the question like, okay, so how am I going to make this happen? What is my plan for the next month, 2 weeks, quarter, whatever? And maybe it is a spending plan or a budget. But I think people often overlook the power of seeing what you're already doing and understanding how you're already spending your money. It seems like a very simple thing, but being able to look back and see what your behavior was, what the patterns were, I think that's very, very powerful. Okay, Chanel says, even though I had an unexpected home expenses, I still pay myself first. If because what is it? There's the 3 pieces of advice, live below your means, pay yourself first. And I can't remember the third one, but those simple things, that's how you get to be a millionaire, if that's a goal. Those simple things like that can revolutionize the way your finances. Okay. I'm just getting back. Okay. Going through the comments and the questions and marking some of them. Okay. It's a Japanese process. I carry a small notebook and track every single expense. Makes you more intentional. Absolutely, it does. That is why with like Tashel Finance or whatever app I have used to track my finances. That's why I enter mine manually as opposed to having it pull that data from my bank accounts. Because if I've got to go in and add, oh, I just spent $350 on fabric, that gives me pause a whole lot more than the app just pulling that number from my credit card. So I applaud you for this. I also find that spending cash, hard currency, as opposed to spending on credit cards, makes me a whole lot more intentional about the way I spend my money. It's real to me when I got to hand somebody that money, as opposed to putting things on credit cards. That money is not real until a month later when I get the bill. And then it's like, girl, what were you doing? What were you doing? Okay, so we said figure out your plan and figure out specifically what actions are you going to take to make that stuff happen? Like, how are you going to pay yourself first? Are you going to pay for things in cash? Are you going to write down everything you spend money on? Because, it's easy to say, oh, I don't spend that much money eating out. And then you go and you look and you're like, oh, well, here's a coffee, here's a donut, this is lunch. And you do that every day, 30 days in a month. It can add up. And I'm not saying don't do that. What I'm saying is, does that behavior suit the goal that you have said you want to achieve financially? And when you're figuring out your plan and what you're going to do, the next obvious question to ask yourself is, what systems do I need to put into place to make that happen? If in order for me to increase my FU money or my oh shit fund or my emergency fund, whatever you're calling it, if what needs to happen for that, or to max out your Roth IRA, is that you need to put a certain amount of money away, have you set up automatic transfers between accounts? Have you set up an automatic investment in your account? Have you set up auto payments on your credit cards that are amounts more than the minimum? What systems are you putting in place to help you do those actions you said needed to be done? Do you need to? Maybe you're different than me. Have you set up, when in your spending tracker app, have you synced your accounts so that that information is all being pulled into there? Will that help you take the actions that you need to? Have you put your financial check-ins on your calendar? Have you gone into your calendar app, whether you're using iCal, Google, or whatever? Have you put it in there? Have you made it a repeating thing? Have you actually, if you keep a physical calendar, have you blocked out that time on your calendar so that you make this a priority? Have you set up those systems that are going to support you in this, so that you don't have to try and remember everything yourself, because the world is on fire. You got a lot of stuff going on. Okay. Committed to Me Forever says AutoPay is your friend. At least it was mine. That's how I built up my Move Abroad fund and my high yield savings account. Exactly. We don't want to make more work for yourself, but it's like, I'll use the dieting analogy again. If you've decided, or dieting or fitness or whatever, you've decided that you want to be in the gym more, or you want to make better food choices, you try to set up a system that's going to help you be successful for that. You get rid of the food you shouldn't be eating from your house. You try and get your friends to join you at that boot camp or in that Pilates class or whatever. Same thing when it comes to our money. create systems that will help you do those things that you want to do. Okay, coming back. All right. So that's what I want us to do. If not today, July 1st, by the end of this week, set up a financial check-in, figure out, what is going to be when your money date is going to be, put it on the calendar, start gathering between now and the end of the week, start gathering up those statements, those account logins that you need. Like, you opened that Roth IRA, you have a 401k at work. Do you know how to log into the portal? Do you know where your last statement was? Because let's say your goal is to retire early. You got to know how much money you got in there before you can start to make that happen. All right. If you've got questions, drop those in the chat. This is encouraging debt-free emergency funds. Goal can be achieved. It can. Y'all, if there is I feel like somebody with my background and somebody who worked as a K-12 educator for nearly 23 years. If somebody like me, who ain't never really made no money ever, can figure out how to retire early and create this life that I live, that is one of ease and one that is sort of work optional. Like, if I can do it, it's possible for anybody. Okay. Just started a new budget spreadsheet today. Awesome. If you are feeling like, well, girl, I tried to do some stuff with my finances earlier in the year and I fell off, that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't matter. Some people like to start something new at the beginning of the month, the beginning of the year, what have you. I think here we are at the middle of this year. This is a great time to start over. There's no limit to how many times you can start over. Okay. Narelle tried a spreadsheet, wasn't working for me. That's exactly it. She used a notebook and a pen. Do what works for you. And that may be something that, as you have your first financial check-in, that may be something that you figure out, like this is how I figured out that I must enter my spending manually, because I used to have everything synced up electronically and I never looked at it. Or I would get this long list of expenses that hasn't been categorized properly, and that got overwhelming for me, and I didn't want to deal with it. So figure out what works for you. What are the things, if believing you got to have a spreadsheet is what's keeping you back, dump a spreadsheet. Do it by hand. Get you an app, whatever works for you. All right. Let's answer some of y'all's questions before we get out of here. Okay. Hey, Martin, I see you had a question. I have a specific plan to get out of debt by 2026, but I need to start my high yield savings account, and I'm concerned about not moving abroad until mid 2026. I'm not sure what your concerns are with that. I see you had a second. Will June or July 2026 be too late to move abroad? I don't think so. I think move abroad as soon as you can. If summer 2026 is when you can do it, okay, bet you've got a year to get your ducks in a row or in a semicircle or whatever it is you need to. Don't stress so much about trying to make your timeline work for other people. Your timeline is what your timeline is. So if you need that year of runway, okay. What are the best decisions you can make during that time to put yourself in the position you want to be in? That's what I say. Um, There's currently, July is not a no spend month, but my grandkids will be here later this month. And it will be two of them this year instead of one. And so I may very well, after I see what I spend while they're here, I may very well want to do a no spend month in August. So I will keep y'all posted on that. Um, is it better to max out your 401k or Roth IRA? I know there's tax implications are a factor of consideration. When it comes to, okay, you're asking about maxing out. Let's back up a little bit. If it's talking, let's start with just contributions before we even get to the max out point. Let's start with contributions. If you have a 401k at work or something similar, and there is an employer match, your first priority is to get that match. That's free money, and we don't leave free money on the table. Okay. If you have contributed up to the point that you get the match and you still have enough space and enough money that you're like, I would like to put some more money to the side. Think about when and how you might want to use this money. If the goal is to stop working before you are 59 and a half, that would be considered retiring early. You want to put money in a place that does not, that is not a retirement account, because your money in your 401k, for the most part, you can't really touch that until you're 59 and a half. Same thing with your Roth IRA, although your contributions to your Roth IRA, you can always get that out whenever because you've already paid taxes on it. But any growth, you can't touch that growth money until you're 59 and a half. So if you've got a plan and a goal that I want to be out of there by the time I'm 50, by the time I'm 40, whatever, you might, for you, it might be, I need to be putting money in a taxable brokerage account, because that money you can put wherever. So most people do 401k up to the match, HSA if they are eligible, Roth IRA. Notice I didn't say max anything out, but contribute to it, contribute to your Roth IRA. I would make sure I'm contributing to a taxable brokerage account so that I've got money growing that I can tap with the least amount of strings anytime I want. So to answer your question, it depends on what is the goal for this money and when do you anticipate needing it. And if you can contribute to, I would also, this is where the taxes figure in. If you are currently maybe making a very high salary, contributing to your 401k reduces your taxable income. That can save you money on income taxes right now, which with the big stupid bill passing, your income taxes are probably going up. So if that's you, it might make more sense after you've contributed a few other places, if you've still got more money that you can be putting aside, to go back and funnel some more money into the 401k. If you want to take advantage of income tax saving now. If you are not making a very high salary and the allure of tax-free growth of a Roth IRA is more alluring, then I would put my extra money there. So it depends. It depends. It depends. Let's see. I saw, okay. I see a question here. Have you come across a credit card with a 0% balance transfer? Yes. You can go to places like NerdWallet. They keep an ongoing list of credit cards that kind of have the best offers. just remember that whether or not a credit card will offer you 0% balance transfer is going to be contingent on your current credit score. Because if you are a big credit risk, you're somebody whose credit situation isn't great, they are unlikely to want to extend that to you. But if you are somebody whose credit situation is pretty good, they might. Okay, let's see. All righty. Say August sounds good for a no spend challenge. Okay, now before 10 uses My Budget and My Money app. My Money, those are the apps that they use. Okay. HSAs are fabulous. But remember, the only people who are eligible for an HSA, you have to have a high deductible insurance plan. If your insurance plan has been designated as high deductible, absolutely take advantage of an HSA. All right, I think that is all of the questions. I, again, want to remind everybody of what you're supposed to be doing this week. This is the time to do your mid-year money refresh. If you have not been doing financial check-ins, money dates, whatever you want to call them, this is the week that you are going to start. You're going to come back to this video and you are going to go through the process of looking at your spending, figuring out where did your money go. Okay, you're going to gather all of your documents, your accounts, the logins, all that stuff so you can get a good picture. You're going to look at where your money went last month and figure out, does that align with where I need my money to go, where I say I want my money to go? And then whether the answer to that is yes or no, what's next? What's your plan for the next month? And then ask yourself, what are the systems I'm going to put in place so that the actions I know I need to take will happen? I got a plan. I know what I need to do, but what systems am I putting in place to help me make that happen? Okay. So that is your task for this week. I don't know if any of you will be in Bogota this weekend. I will be there. So if y'all are in Bogota, I'll get to see you this weekend. Absolutely hit the like button. That will help YouTube know that, hey, you want to get more of my stuff in your feed. All right, y'all. I will talk to you later. And don't forget your